I would say that feminism is toxic. And,
Yes.
I use toxic specifically. It's not poisonous, it's toxic. So as something that is toxic, you can tolerate a certain amount of it.
Yes.
And actually, initially, you might have no negative symptoms at all below a
Yes.
certain threshold. And then slowly those symptoms will increase. And it's one of those things that ultimately, if you continue to expose yourself, your symptoms will get worse and worse and worse over time. Now, the reason why it's toxic is there's a couple of specific reasons. Firstly, it completely removes your locus of control, externalizes it out to other people. People say that feminism is about empowerment. No. Feminists are the most disempowered women you will ever meet because they are a victim of the patriarchy, which is another way of saying the patriarchy make all the decisions. And
Yes.
life happens to
I have no
me.
free agency.
Correct. So they've externalized their locus of control, placing themselves as perpetual victims who can't do anything about it except rage.
Yes.
And raging doesn't do anything.
Yeah.
So they're stuck. In life, they're stuck. That's the first reason why feminism is toxic. The second reason why feminism is toxic is because it poisons all of your relationships with the opposite sex. We've raised these women, and so disappointment can only be measured in terms of expectation. If
Yes.
you don't have an expectation, you can't be disappointed.
Yeah.
So we take young girls and we give them expectations that are completely fantastical, out of this world. You're amazing just the way you are. You can have you can have it all. You can be the boss lady. You can be the mum. You can be wear the pants in the household and earn all the money and all of those things all at once.
Yeah.
Like you can have everything. Now that's fantasy. Not even men can have all of those things,
Yeah.
right? And obviously the reason I say not even men is because the physical toll of having a child is a lot lower on a man. So it's even more difficult for a woman. No one can have everything. But we fill girls' minds, and boys to a certain degree, but we're focusing on feminism. We fill girls' minds with this expectation that will never be met.
Yeah.
And then we tell them, if you're unhappy with your life, it's a man's fault because we've externalized their locus of control. So we have condemned them to unhappiness because they have expectations that will never be met. And we have condemned them to helplessness because we've told them that they can't change their circumstances because they're a victim. And then we wonder why they end up being Clementine Ford.
And that's what I'm saying. So, I say this because I see a lot of disparaging comments on social media like, oh, she's an idiot, she's ugly, whatever. That's not helpful. I think Clem's way too far gone. She's done. But someone like Abby, she is an opportunist. If the tide shifts enough, you will see a lot of these people jump ship. But you're already seeing it with Gen Z.
I don't know if Abby would. I don't know if Abby could.
I don't know. I don't know if she could.
Yeah. Others, I agree. There are certainly people that will.
There's people on the spectrum. But what I am definitely noticing, because I guess I'm looking for it now, and with the podcast, I consume so much content now, it's crazy. But it's like it hasn't clicked, right?
Yeah.
We're still a little while away for it to click. But there is definitely this disconcernment around like things feel off. I feel like I've been sold a lie.
Yeah.
And you're seeing
And
that
a lot of people have been.
You're seeing that particularly around dating culture. These women are like, well, why isn't he doing this and why isn't he doing that? And the whole conversation has always been, well, what are you bringing to the table?
Yeah. And this is actually really important because there's a new emerging subculture now of people railing against basically useless men,
Yes.
incel type men.
Yeah.
And those men exist,
Yeah.
right? I'm not going to say that every single guy is great. Actually, there is a large cohort that are completely useless.
Yes.
They have no ambition. They have no skill. They don't know how to treat a lady, let alone treat themselves. That is true. Those people exist.
I'm going to tell you a story about that in a second too.
But at the same time, if you want someone who isn't that, you'd better give them a reason to want you.
Yeah.
Right? Because by definition, now we're talking about half or less of the potential dating pool.
Yeah.
And only a portion of that half are going to be desirable to you physically and financially and in personality-wise and in other ways.
Yeah.
So by definition, ladies, you are chasing a small proportion, and this has been borne out in numbers from dating websites where women tend to be swiping on only, say, 3% of the men, when men will be swiping on 50% of the women. Women are trying to date up. We've talked about this before.
Yep.
And so, ladies, the fact that half of the men are useless means that you have to be even more competitive. You have to actually bring even more to the table, not less. They use that as an excuse. Well, I don't have to bring anything because half the men are useless. Well, sure, but that's not the half you want. You want a man from the half that is useful, that has value, that is a go-getter, that looks after himself, is going to look after you. You want that? Well, already all of the women are looking for that half. So already you'd better get your skates on and figure out what you bring to the table.
Well, I thought this was interesting since we're on the topic. This was unplanned, but I remember this. So Clementine Ford has been on the dating apps and she talks about the dating apps. Now, as someone who has also used them and met my current partner off one, I feel like I'm well versed to talk about dating apps. I've been on and off them since Tinder came out, and I, up until G, I've clearly not had success. G is the only successful one. I'd met plenty of people that were nice, but just,
no spark. No.
Yeah, just nice to meet you. Thank you, but no.
Yeah.
And I'm not someone that enjoys wasting my time. I've never done the hookup culture thing. I just can't be bothered. And I don't just date someone for a couple of months just to see. I'm like, no, definitely no. Thank you, bye-bye. So Clementine Ford shares her comments. And look, there's some douchebags on there, 100%.
Absolutely. Of course there are.
I've told the story about the guy I had dated that was engaged and living with the one and had the other. Have I told that story?
No, I don't think you have.
I'll tell it very briefly. I won't tell the full story because it's really messed up. But I met this guy when I was 30 and he was 40. And, so I was a little bit younger and he was very attractive. I thought at the time he was very attractive. And as you do on Bumble, you swipe. I can't remember what it was, Bumble or whatever, one of the two. Swiped on him and then he matched. And I can say this now looking back almost 10 years ago, that I had a rush of endorphins that this very attractive man matched back with me, made me go, well, maybe I'm attractive because he matched with me. Anyway, and he was weird. He was just very weird. We didn't talk, whatever. But then, somehow he found me on Instagram, which was weird because I hadn't linked any of that, right? So you're starting to see straight away. In hindsight, it sounds way worse.
There's red flags. Yeah.
But at the time, I didn't think anything of it. I was like, oh, wow, he must have really liked me. Bless younger
He would
cults.
really like to wear your skin. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yes.
And so then that was actually just about the time I was going overseas, and I think I was in America for 2 months or something. And, I will get to this Clementine Ford in a second.
Yeah.
And he would follow me religiously on social media, watch all my stories. He was always the first one and he's always at the top. And I was like, wow, this guy really likes me, but he wouldn't message me. Anyway, long story short, this person was actually observing me, learning what I like, what I don't like, what I talk about, what my favorite movie was. And then when we finally went on a date, after about 3 months of this social media watching whatever, and he didn't use social media anywhere near like I did. So I didn't have any context for him apart from a couple of photos. And then we finally go on this date and it was like, I see this now with much clearer eyes, but he mirrored exactly what I wanted a man to be.
Yeah.
In the way that I was like, holy shit, how do you exist?
Yeah.
Loved the same favorite movie.
Yeah.
Loved the same things, want the same things out of life. And he happened to be a graphic designer or a creative director. And so he mirrored this version and I was like, whoa, I found my person. And then over a course of months, right, would come into my life, leave my life, come into my life, leave my life, but would still be watching on social media.
Yeah.
And that's how I learnt what a narcissist was.
Yeah.
Right. And that's how I'm happy to say, yeah, I was a victim to this. I did not know what I was up against.
Yeah.
Anyway, over 5 years, this person would step into my life and then piss off again. We never actually were ever together, but we would go on a few dates and then he'd disappear.
Yeah.
But he did just enough to have me on that hook.
Yeah.
Right? And he'd wheel me in and then he'd come back.
He was breadcrumbing.
100%. That's what it was, breadcrumbing. And it was interesting because he always painted this version of me of I thought he was just a playboy, not ready to settle down, probably still running around sowing his wild oats, right? And I knew he'd been married before. So I was like, okay, well, he's just rebelling. That's what I told myself. Anyway, long story short, COVID happens. I moved down Geelong Way and I don't see or talk to this person for 2 years. Moved back to Melbourne. I joined Bumble and there he was. And I was like, I wonder. I know everyone's like, you idiot. I agree. But I like to see things through. So swipe and then talk, whatever. Anyway, I knew something was up. But this was the first time he allowed me access to his private, his own Facebook page.
Right.
His profile.
Yeah.
I'd only ever had him on Instagram. Right? So you can be really select with what you put on Instagram.
Sure. Yeah.
And this person had a very small media, internet footprint. Whereas, I had a company and I was I had a social media audience. So my stuff was everywhere. Anyway, finally I get his Facebook and I'm like, this is what I've been looking for 5 years. And I went through every post. I was looking for something. I didn't know what I was looking for. I was looking for something.
Are you still sure he was the creeper?
No. I am nothing if not diligent in my research. Anyway, I find this name this peculiar foreign name that pops up a few times, but like I can't click the link, which tells you that person's been blocked by him. Because normally if they were unblocked, you'd be able to click and go to their profile. I was like, all right, so I copy that name, I put it in there, and I remember it from ages ago for some reason.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's a woman. And I'm like, I don't know why, I just need to message this woman. I need to message this woman. And so I do. And I write her a DM and I'm like, hey, I'm really sorry if this comes out of nowhere, but I just want to ask, how do you know this person? Because this is how I know this person and I don't think they're telling the truth.
Yeah.
And she writes back within minutes. And she's like, oh, well, that's my fiance. And I was like,
wow.
okay. And she's like, my ex-fiance.
Okay.
So, and I said, I'm so sorry. And she's like, no, you're number 5 now. And I was like, sorry? She's like, yeah, you're the 5th girl that's messaged me in like the last couple of months.
That's just of the ones that have messaged.
So then, this is a good story, guys. I need to make a movie out of this. I'm leaving out a lot of context, but just for the sake of keeping it short. So then we keep talking and she's like, I'm going to call you. And she's Portuguese. Okay. So she's got like good English, but like there's a few broken things because I was like, oh, what does that mean? So we get on the phone and we're on the phone for like 3 hours. She had been with him the whole time I had known him. I did not know any of this.
Wow.
There was no way I could have known this. And everything that he told me was actually hers. His dog was her dog. His house was actually her house that she owned, right?
Yeah.
Crazy shit.
Yeah.
Anyway, then the group of 5 of us all get put in this group. We're all this is every guy's worst enemy.
I'm sure they have made a movie about some scenario exactly like this.
This is like Tinder swindler and like all sorts of things. It gets really dark, and I'm leaving out something that's really important, but I don't want to say that on this podcast because I don't want to get sued by this dickhead. But anyway, I've said all this to his face. But anyway, so in this group of 5 of us, we're all talking about this person, and every single one of us knew a totally different person.
Yeah.
I was like, no, his favorite movie is this. And they're like, no, it's not, Carly, it's this.
So what came to mind when you were sort of setting the scene for the story, you would have seen the movie Groundhog Day.
Yes.
Okay, fabulous film. Now, this is a guy who's reliving the same day over and over again. And there's this girl that he likes that he keeps going on a date with her, or it's not a date. They're basically having a working sort of morning tea or lunch or whatever it was. And over time, he learns more and more about her.
Yeah.
And then he starts to reflect back to her ideals. What social media allows us to do is exactly what happened in Groundhog Day and exactly what happened to you, where people absolutely can become a chameleon. And they absolutely can figure out who you are and reflect to you what you want to see. Oh, hi, you're still here. I just assumed everyone had left because Carly always falls asleep. Let's be honest. Oh, is that just me? I fall asleep because Carly, I don't know. Anyway, you're still here. So did you just hit Carly, did you just reach, seriously? Can you not leave well enough alone?
No, I must infiltrate every part of your life.
Back to me. Please like, please comment, please subscribe, because I suffer through Carly twice a week for you. I drive hours from where I live down to Melbourne to be tortured by Carly every week, and I do it for you because I love you so much. So please help me out. Just like, comment, subscribe, share the show, make sure that everyone else can join in the fun, and show up next week for like more oddcasty goodness. And if you really, really want to help me, then you can buy me a coffee via that little QR code there. You'll be supporting the show and helping me to tolerate Carly.